Real quick before we jump into the video, I'm dropping the most country balls ever. I've got 3 new ones for you. We've got Australia ball, Canada ball, and finally, the British ball. Again, as always, I'm only able to sell these guys for a limited time. You will never be able to get them again. So check the link in the description down below to head over to makeship.com and snatch these guys up before they're gone forever. Sometimes it's hard to review these posts because I've seen so many jokes about them, but they do still sometimes shock me. The westernmost point of Iran is technically closer to the country of Latvia by the Baltic Sea than it is to the most eastern point in the same country. That's 2,200 kilometers away versus Latvia, which is only 2,100 kilometers away. Really easy to get just how much of a long boy this country is. But even then, when you look at it on certain map projections, you're like, wait, how is this even possible? I don't understand. It's the dreaded flat maps once again. This makes me wonder just how long Chile is, actually. Of course, gotta bring up Chile. Or, sorry, Chile. Yep, still doesn't compare. 4,200 kilometers! I swear, when the Spanish came up with this country, they were like, let's just make a total meme nation. Paid leave for new mothers around the world. Obviously, this isn't gonna look good for us since we are one of 8 nations that do not have paid maternity leave. Wait, which ones are the other 8 though? I only see Papua New Guinea. Oh, and if you look close enough, Eswatini in southern Africa as well. So almost all of Europe, including Russia, provides 24 weeks or more, as well as Iran, India, Vietnam, and Japan. Then these slightly lighter green, so a lot of Africa and some parts of Europe like Spain and the Netherlands, they provide 12 to 24 weeks. So this is over 6 months. Basically, it looks like all of the Arabian Peninsula is providing 4 to 12 weeks, and then there's us at 0. I really wish this map used different colors though. Like, why did you choose, I guess, to single out the orange countries? So federally, this is not a thing, but it is becoming more of a state issue. So a lot of the Pacific states have this, Colorado, New York, New Jersey, and then I think even more states have something being voted on currently or something like that. Raising kids means you'll need a lot of coffee. I actually wouldn't know. I don't know why I even said that. Annual coffee consumption by European country. So the biggest coffee consumer per capita is Luxembourg. I know they're very rich in Luxembourg. Could it be to stay up all night and get the deals to whatever? And they are way out in first place. Finland's in number 2, but not even at half of what Luxembourg's got going on. And then Sweden as well. You know, it's interesting. I didn't think of the Nordic countries as like big coffee consumers. Even Iceland is up there. Maybe I should have known that, but I feel like I've never heard that before. Figured coffee wasn't really a big thing in the British Isles or Ireland. They like their tea. And I know a lot of the southern Mediterranean countries like their tea too. Spain is pretty low. Oh, and Turkey's one of the lowest. Why is Turkey so low? They hate coffee? They're the second lowest, only to Moldova. There's probably a story behind that. Eastern Europe as a whole is probably just too busy consuming vodka, but it is interesting to see that coffee has slowly began to penetrate the Iron Curtain. I mean, Romania is not super high, but compared to the other countries, they're pretty good. I feel like you'd think Italy would be higher considering everything, but I guess not. This is such a hilarious map. Countries that have been at war with Germany since 1871. 1871 is literally Germany's birthday. This encompasses their entire existence. And as you can see, basically almost the entire globe has been at war with Germany at one point, but do kind of take this with a grain of salt. Some of these countries were part of an empire that was at war with Germany, which is why most of Africa is getting pulled down into this. So basically, some of the only places that haven't fought Germany are Bhutan, Switzerland, they gotta stay neutral, Sweden, who's also pretty good at staying neutral, Austria, who is like the real starter of world wars, but nobody realizes that. Spain is kind of a nice big one that you wouldn't really think. Some of the microstates and And if you're confused about how some former Axis members declared war on Germany, you are forgetting World War I. Japan declared war on Imperial Germany, and of course they had control over the Korean Peninsula. And then famously, Italy joined the Entente at the end of the Great War. Also, if you're thinking the Ottomans in World War I being an ally to Germany, you forget that in World War II, Turkey declared war on No-No Germany at the very end there, and then a lot of this other stuff was controlled by European powers. I actually had no idea Saudi Arabia also declared war in 1945. When did Afghanistan declare war, though? This is such a hilarious map. I can't believe it. And for all these countries that haven't declared war on Germany just yet, there's still time. The most popular web browsers from 2012 to 2022. So 10 years ago, most of North America was still using Internet Explorer. To be honest, I was probably still using it back then too. A large chunk of Europe, though, was using Firefox, as well as a lot of African nations. There's even some outliers here in Asia, Mongolia and Indonesia. There's Latin America, which was adopting Chrome pretty early on, which so was a lot of Southern Europe, even Russia. British Raj was almost unified for Chrome as well. I like how we have a South Korean island here. I wonder what internet browser Kim Jong-un uses. And then finally in red, we have opera, which I didn't even hear about until like a couple years ago. Some outliers in Africa and a lot in Central Asia. As I said, this is from 10 years ago though. The current map looks something more like this. Google Chrome is completely dominating. How did they end up winning this entire battle royale in only the span of a decade? Well, wait a second, they still have a few more countries to conquer. Equatorial Guinea is on that edge train. How much did Bill Gates have to pay that country to use this? Finally, there's the gray countries, which aren't actually no data. We have Belize and Greenland, also Andorra and a couple of other places. Those places are using Safari, so I guess they're big Apple fans or something over there. I honestly didn't realize it was this one-sided at this point. I thought it was still pretty divided. I knew Chrome had really got a lot of territory though. Is it even possible to defeat Google's dominance at this point? Which country would North Korean defectors be deported to? I think I've looked up some of this information for myself one day, just in case I do ever visit North Korea and they decide to trap me there. So one of the biggest problems for North Korean defectors is it's not easy to get to South Korea. It is probably a bit easier to get over to China or Russia, but if they catch you, they're just gonna literally send you back, and I don't want to know what happens after that. In fact, even if you make it all the way down to Vietnam, Laos, or Cambodia, they'll still send you back to North Korea. You'd have to hear the throat singers through the wind to lead yourself to Mongolia. I really wonder how Mongolia is the one outlier just in the middle of Asia. So Mongolia would send you to South Korea. I don't see how you could end up in Taiwan, but you never know. They'd send you back to South Korea. Now, is this a mistake, or does this island specifically send you back to South Korea? Japan doesn't own this island anymore, at least. Going to assume this is a mistake. If you make it to this island somehow, they'll send you to North Korea. But probably the greatest thing on this map, Malaysia will just randomly send you to the USA. I don't really know why, but okay. And you know what? Someone had to do it because all the countries in white have no known cases. So at least one guy somehow made it over here. It must have not have been through mainland Asia because he probably would have stopped in Thailand. So he just hit on a boat somewhere and probably made it to this side of Malaysia. So apparently Russia's population declined by 1 million people last year. This is a population pyramid showing the Soviet Union and Russia from the I guess it started in the 50s, so you can really see the dips during the world wars. Insane that you could see a significant decrease in both sides, not just the males. So they actually had a female surplus before World War I, and then in between the world wars even. And then here is after the Soviet Union. So when the Soviet Union collapsed, population already started to decrease. Part of that is due to they had to release a bunch of territory. They lost a lot of people there, so I'm assuming that has got to be the reason why. By 2010, I don't really know how the recession impacted Russia, but it's not great. Ever since 2016, though, it's been back on the decline, which I'm assuming is why Putin is really pushing for this stuff to start making babies. The population increased when Crimea was included in 2015. Here's public debt in the United States. This one's gonna make me sick. We already passed the Great Depression. Boom. We have after World War II, the big one. I know the 70s weren't too great for economy. Oh, really not too bad though. Here comes the global financial crisis in 2008, and watch this. Oh, I actually thought it was gonna be even worse. It is number one, but I thought it was gonna be like, boom! I was ready to throw up. Everyone's talking about the fall of Netflix. Let's take a look at their economics. This is for their 2021 fiscal year. Streaming revenue was almost 30 billion, but what's even more interesting is that they're still making money from DVD revenue. And that's not nothing. 182 million? I'll take 182 million. I'm assuming there's gotta be countries around the world that are still using the DVD method, or if you just don't have good internet. So yeah, it all contributes to their revenue as a whole. But then there's the cost revenue. They're spending 8 billion for licensed content, 4.2 produced content, so they're actually spending more than they are for making stuff. And then finally, other content delivery costs, whatever that means. And they have 12 billion gross profit. They've got operating profit of 6 billion, but there's marketing costs, tech and development, general and admin costs. So this is where they're really just burning cash right here. And I'm sure the other streaming services are making Netflix pay like a pretty high premium, since they would probably want to put that content on their own platform. They will allow them to have it if they give them enough money though, probably. I feel like they're probably going to be safe enough. They probably won't just disappear, but they definitely ain't going to be as dominant as they were before. Do you live closer to the area with the highest temperature ever recorded, or the lowest temperature ever recorded? So the place with the highest temperature is actually Furnace Creek. What an odd name. This place was recorded at 134 degrees Fahrenheit. How is that even possible? Also, I would not expect California to have the hottest recorded temperature. How is it not like the Sahara Desert? Is this even accurate? It is California, but it's Death Valley. Maybe they're a part of the same area. Oh yeah, that is Death Valley. Okay, I just have never heard, as a Californian myself, I've never heard of Furnace Creek. We always just call that Death Valley and then never go there. Now it is easy to believe this one though. The lowest temperature ever recorded is Antarctica, -128 28 degrees Fahrenheit. How? Just how? So it's very likely that if you are in the northern hemisphere, you are probably closest to the highest recorded temperature. There is a pretty strict line that cuts through South America, through Africa even, and through a lot of places in Asia that tend to get pretty hot as well. These places are closest to the coldest temperature, oddly. Weird to think that a lot of Egypt, a lot of Libya, like the desert of the Sahara being closest to negative 128 degrees. I know that that doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's just an interesting thought. As always, these guys with the banger maps. People are pointing out though that Death Valley does not have the hottest temperature on average. On average, that would go to this little place in Ethiopia. On average, it's usually 95 degrees. The record low for this place has been only in the 70s. That's record all-time low. So obviously the recorded all-time highs are easily above 100 and getting close to that 134 temperature in July. Still not there yet, but yeah, on average, that would just suck. It's just always hot, even in the cold months like January and December. And big thanks to Drew's sexy girlfriend, young waifu, I stole Drew's Argentinian grandpa, AryanAfterHours,
aPhatNarwhal,
Alex Whitley is Mega
Barnsky
W,
W,
Canadian
Ball,
Union,
Fat
Gaming
Nuts,
Candy Cane, 7889,
LuxembourgLover,
Majestic Unicorn,
Max Cooper,
Mimoshiki,
Nora the Bold,
Ortin, 5610,
Smiling Lovers,
Philipp RF,
Robert
RyeThePie,
E,
the Mexican 760.
And why am I doing this?